Hello, my lovelies. Well, today I'd like to share with you one of my other hobbies that I like to do. Beekeeping is slowing down. I don't really need to be opening hives or messing with them. It's getting cooler outside, and it's about time to just leave them alone for the winter. So what I'd like to share with you guys today is my soap making. And right here I have a huge vat of saved bacon fat. I guess you could say we eat a lot of bacon. So I had another one of these jars that I've already turned into this soap, and I want to take you along with me today and show you how I turn this big old thing of saved bacon fat with a few other simple ingredients into these luscious bars of homemade soap. This one is coffee vanilla. It smells delicious. It works really well, and I'd like to show you guys how I do it. So come along with me and let's make some soap. Okay guys, so I've got all my ingredients all measured and weighed out right here for making my bacon fat soap, and I'm gonna make it a coffee scented and vanilla scented soap. So I'll tell you real quick what I got right here, and then we'll get going on mixing the lye solution, and that has to cool down for a little while, and then we'll come back and get the soap all mixed together. So right here I have my soap mold, and this is actually just an old drawer. It's the perfect size for making soap, and I've lined it with some waxed parchment paper. So this is what I'm gonna pour my finished soap into so it can set up overnight. And then I have a silicone spatula here. I'm gonna use this to mix the soap a little bit. In here in the jar, I have 4 cups of our saved bacon fat. It looks like we eat quite a bit of bacon fat, so quite a bit of bacon. So I've got 4 cups or 2 pounds of my saved bacon fat here. And then in this container, I have some fresh brewed coffee. It's room temperature now, so it's nice and cool. It's not still hot. And I've got 12 ounces of this fresh brewed coffee. I have some coffee grounds here, and I'm just gonna use this to maybe mix into the soap a little bit, or a little bit of decoration on the top. In this container here, I have 1 ounce of my scent oil. This is vanilla, so I'm gonna do a coffee and vanilla scented soap. And then in this container here, I have 4.29 ounces of weighed out lye, or NaOH. And we're gonna use that to pour into the coffee to make our lye solution. And then I've got a stick blender here that we're gonna use to mix the soap. We're gonna use the spatula first to mix it around, and then kind of mix it together with the stick blender. And then I've got a big plastic soap safe, lye safe container here. So after we melt the fat, and after I have my lye solution all cooled down and ready to go, we're gonna put it all in this big container. This is easy to pour from and easy to mix with. So this is what we're gonna use to mix it in. So to start off, I'm gonna move kind of all of this stuff away that we don't need right now. So for the very first step, I just have to pour the lye into my coffee. You could use lye to pour into any kind of liquid like milk, just plain water, or tea even, to make the lye solution. So, but it has to cool off. It gets pretty hot. So we're gonna start this off by just pouring the lye into the coffee, and when that cools back down, then we'll go ahead and mix the melted bacon fat and the lye solution in this big container later on. I'm just gonna start by showing you mixing this. So I've got the lye all measured out here, my liquid measured out, and you just dump this in. You don't wanna stand right over it and breathe the fumes. It might be a good idea to wear gloves and glasses if you're not comfortable with having mixed lye and water before. It does kind of get fumy. A lot of times I'll just set this mixture outside while it cools off, so I'm not breathing the fumes in. Typically you want to mix this mixture until the lye completely dissolves and the liquid gets clear, but because I'm mixing it into coffee, it's not going to get clear. You can see, maybe even you can see the fumes coming up already. It gets quite hot really quickly. So we're just gonna stir this around. And it's pretty hot, almost too hot to touch immediately. So I'm gonna stir that around a little bit. I'm gonna use my spatula as well to get these remaining bits of lye out of here. Okay, and run water into this immediately and rinse it out. So once this is mixed, it's gonna have to sit around for an hour or an hour and a half before it is cool enough. I've got a thermometer here too. I forgot to mention that is one of the tools. So I'll be taking the temperature of this to make sure it cools down. It needs to be below 130 degrees. I like to work with it around 110. So I'm going to be waiting till this mixture comes to 110 degrees. Okay, I feel like that's totally mixed in. I'm going to set my spatula aside. I'll get this cleaned up for the next step. I'm going to see how hot this is right now. And then we'll come back in a little while, a couple hours, when this has come down to about 110, and I'm going to try to have my fat at about the same temperature, under 130, within 10 degrees of each other, but I like to have them both about 110 degrees when mixing them. So this lye solution is pretty close to 200 degrees, so I got to cool it down by half, so it needs to cool down a lot. So I'll be back with you guys in a little while when this is cooled off and I've got my bacon fat ready to go. It'll be melted, and I'll show you how I bring it all together. All right, guys, we're back. It's been a couple hours now, and the temperature of the lye solution is right about 110. I don't know, you guys probably won't be able to see the reading on here, but it is 110, and I think I've got my lard or my reserved bacon fat here, and it is also, it's 105, so that's perfect. They're real close to each other. They're within 10 degrees of each other. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix this up. So what you wanna do is, I've got my bacon fat poured into this big container, and I'm just gonna straight away pour this lye mixture into the bacon fat, and I'm gonna start mixing it. It's kind of chunky when you make it with coffee instead of water. It's usually not so thick when you use just straight water. So I'm gonna scrape this out, get all those bits in there, and then I'm going to start stirring this a little bit. Okay, so this is gonna be a lovely brown color, like coffee. I don't even know if I'm going to need to use my burr mixer. Sometimes you need to and sometimes you don't. So what you want to do is just stir this together until it gets kind of thick like pudding. That's called trace. It's when you can see where the spatula was before, or if you drop a little bit of the soap on top of itself, it stays there. So you're looking for it to come to trace. And I'm feeling like this is going to come to trace pretty quickly, so I may not even use my stick blender, but I might just give it a little quick whir. It's pretty thick. And then I think I'm going to put some of the coffee grounds in the soap as well as on top for decoration. So I'm just going to stir this together. I think I'm going to go ahead and give it just a quick mix. See if that will help kind of glue it together. I've got my mold real close here, so I'm just going to give it a that's a little thicker, so I'm gonna pour in, this is 1 ounce of vanilla essential oil, So I'm gonna add that for a nice coffee vanilla scent. And I'm also gonna add some of the coffee grounds as well. Not all of them, but I don't know, a tablespoon or two. Okay. So I'm gonna mix that around a little bit with the blender. It smells so good. How good will it be to be taking a shower and have your soap smell like coffee? I can kind of see it's thickening up pretty good. I'm just gonna let it sit there like this and maybe stir it with a spatula a little bit. It's definitely starting to come to trace. I can kind of see where I took out the burr blender. Just gonna detach this here. Okay. Straight into a pot of water. All right, so definitely thickening up. If it's too thin, it will run kind of outside my parchment paper that I have in my mold. But that's starting to look good. It's a thin trace. We're just gonna let it sit for just a minute. Okay, so here's my mold. And I'm gonna pour this in the mold in just a minute, and I think I'm just gonna sprinkle some of the coffee grounds on top as well. And I make a lot of other soaps, but I use my beeswax, coconut oil, and olive oil mostly in them. And then this is the only one that I make with just 100% lard, is from our saved bacon fat. And it makes a creamier bar. It doesn't lather as nicely as the beeswax and coconut and olive oil type, but it is a great moisturizer bar because of the lard. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pour this into my mold. It's gonna be a beautiful soap. I'm gonna let it set up a little bit before I put the coffee grounds on top, because I kind of want to make a little design in the top. So I'm gonna wait for it to firm up a little bit. It smells delicious. It smells like coffee and vanilla. Okay. Okay guys, I think this is set up enough for me to put a little bit of a design in the top, so I'm just gonna kind of smush it around a little bit like this until it looks like I want it. Still maybe a little soft, but I think it's going to be all right. All right, I just wanted some texture in the top. There we go. Sometimes you gotta play with it for a minute so you kind of get it the way that you want. Okay, I think I'm okay with that. Just a little bit of kind of swirly texture. And I'm gonna use my ground coffee here to sprinkle just down the middle. Help give it a wonderful smell right off the bat. Okay guys, so this is my coffee vanilla soap made from our saved bacon fat. And when I get it to this point, what I do is I just tape a piece of parchment paper over the top. Like so. And I'm just gonna wrap it in some towels and set it aside so it stays nice and warm until it sets. And we'll come back tomorrow and cut this. Hello again, everybody. So this soap has been setting overnight, probably about 12 hours. You can cut it in between 12 and 24 hours. My soaps seem to be a little hard if I let them go all the way to 24 hours before I cut them. So I'm gonna open this up here. We'll see what it looks like, and I'll unmold it and cut it for you guys, and we'll see how they look. Oh, it looks gorgeous. It's a little bit of different coloration on the top, but looks really good. All right, so I'm gonna pull it out of these molds. I just kind of peel the edge away from my little drawer here to loosen it up and knock it out. Smells like coffee. So I cut this in 1-inch bars, and I'm gonna lay it back down on my wax paper here. But so you can see it, beautiful brown color. So I'm just going to lay it on its side, I think. We can cut it from this way. Okay. So I just use a ruler and measure it out. I get 11 1-inch bars from this. And I just kind of go and make a mark in the side. They don't have to be perfect. I list this stuff on my website, dayfamilyapiaries.com. There's a link on the About page on my YouTube channel to go to my website. And I also sell these in a local market here. Okay, so I just run through like that, mark them on the inch, like so, and then I'm going to cut my first bar here. Just try to make sure it's even and straight. Press straight down. Beautiful. Let's see what this looks like. Gorgeous dark brown color, coffee in there. Smells delicious, like vanilla and coffee. Just what I wanted. Okay, next bar. Oh, it's perfect, nice and soft. Sometimes my bars are a little crumbly if I wait too long to cut. These are gorgeous. Beautiful. So I kept this soap wrapped up all night long to keep it nice and warm so the whole bar of soap would go through the gel phase, and the top got a little bit cool. That's why it's a slightly different color than the rest of it, but I think it looks cool. Gorgeous. I love the texture of this. The bacon fat bars are a lot creamier than my beeswax and coconut oil bars. They're a little softer, but they do produce a little less suds than the olive oil and the coconut and the beeswax. But it's a great moisturizing bar. Smells so good. Can't wait to try this out. But this soap has to sit around for at least 4 weeks to cure. It'll lose a little bit of its moisture and shrink just a little bit, but Oh, it smells delicious right now. It's got a beautiful color. I love that brown color with the coffee speckle through. It's a great bar. All right, guys, so that's all the bars cut. I've got 11 bars of soap out of that recipe. I'm gonna sit them with my other bars to cure. And that's how you turn saved bacon fat into beautiful soap. Thank you guys for watching, liking, and subscribing. It's always great sharing my beekeeping and my cooking and my little homesteading things that I do here. I hope to see you guys next time.